Residential site valuation and cost approach. Easements. An easement is a right to use another person's real property for a particular purpose. Easements can be public, for instance, road expansion, or private, for instance, access to a landlocked parcel. It is important to understand that easements restrict how a parcel of land may be used, because usually a structure cannot be put on an easement. The easement creates limited rights to the easement holder. Easements can be put into a deed before a transfer of property occurs or created separately as an agreement between the parties. A recorded easement, either a deed or as a separate document, gives notice to third parties and usually causes the easement to transfer with the property. When put into a deed, the easement becomes a restriction, and it often grants the previous owner or other parties an easement for access across the piece of land being transferred. An easement that grants access is referred to as a right of way, ROW. Often, the government holds the right of way easement across the front of land for future road widening. In either case, easements may have a negative impact on value if they severely limit the building area of site. In some states, a parcel of land cannot be landlocked, and an adjacent landowner can be forced to provide an easement which can impact value. Value principles. As we begin to look at value, let's make a few distinctions clear. Value is the amount of goods or services offered in the marketplace in exchange for something else. But value does not always equal price. Price is what a particular person is willing to pay for something. Value is what a typical person would pay for something. Price is what one person paid. Of course, both value and price may have nothing to do with what the property actually costs to build. Cost is the dollars needed to develop, produce, or build something. There are many cost factors which must be considered. Market value. Market value is the most probable price which a property should bring in a competitive and open market. Market value is what property is expected to sell for in a typical arm's length transaction. An arm's length transaction means the transaction occurred under typical conditions in the marketplace, where each of the parties were acting in his or her own best interests. Those typical conditions are: the buyer paid cash for the property at closing or obtained a conventional mortgage through a lender so as to pay the seller the agreed upon price at closing. The seller did not grant any unusual payments, concessions, such as owner financing or other payment terms. The buyer and seller are not related in any way. The buyer and seller are both acting in their own best interests. The buyer and seller are not acting out of undue haste or duress. The buyer and seller are both reasonably informed about all aspects of the property, its potential uses, market value, and market conditions. The property has been available on the market for a reasonable period of time. There is not always a set time for this, and it may vary from market by market conditions. As these typical market participants, buyers and sellers, act in their own best interests, they are still guided by the same value principles and other factors that, extra note, know these for the exam. Or wait, know this for the exam, the arm's length transaction. Page 9, influence value. As such, it is important to understand these factors in order for the appraiser to correctly interpret data. Let's look at the value principles that are most relevant to this site valuation. Anticipation. Anticipation is an economic theory that says value is created by the expectation of future benefits. These future benefits that are the motivation for buying real estate include appreciation, tax benefits, and income. Appreciation is almost a universal motivation. While there is no guarantee that property will go up in value, few people, if any, will buy property with the hope of or desire that its value will drop. Tax benefits serve as an additional motivating factor as well. Tax shelter benefits have been reduced significantly for many investors, but sometimes there are still tax incentives available for businesses that bring jobs to an area. And for people buying a personal residence, the mortgage interest deduction is an anticipated benefit. Finally, for income properties, there is an anticipation of future income that motivates many investment purchases. Here, the investor looks at the future expected income stream as well as the expected future resale value. Be aware that anticipation may also cause investors to buy and hold land for future development. Balance. Balance is the right mix of capital, entrepreneurship/management, labor, and land that results in the best return on investment from land. Remember, sell, C-E-L-L. In other words, when considering all of these factors just mentioned, which combination of these factors results in the best return on investment from the land? This determines the land's maximum productivity and hence maximizes the value of the site. When these four agents of production, sell, are in optimal balance, then the property is at its highest and best use. Balance can also come into play with regard to the economic situation in an area. For example, if there are lots of residential properties in an area, but little commercial development, then land that can be developed for shopping or restaurants would be more attractive as an investment to fill the current imbalance in the area. This can be understood by examining the development pattern of most areas. First, land is used for used for industrial or large commercial uses to create jobs in that area. Next, land is used for Next, land is used for residential purposes so that people can live near those jobs. Finally, land is used for light commercial uses, for instance, store, restaurants, etc., to serve those people. Note that once the area has enough of a certain type of property usage, for instance commercial, then values will likely fall for an additional land in that usage category. Change. Change is a principle affecting value which says that all factors which influence real estate, physical, economic, governmental, social, pegs, are constantly changing, and thus property value itself is subject to constant change as well. These factors will be discussed in the next chapter. For now, understand that no conditions in any market remain constant forever, and these changes may also cause site values to change. This is why an appraisal is only valid as of its effective date, the date for which value was established. The changes may be subtle or drastic, but it's the appraiser's responsibility to ensure that all changeable factors affecting property value are taken into account in an appraisal. Extra notes. San Antonio Appraiser Fest, November 1st through 3rd. Possible 14 hours of continuing ed. Jonathan Miller teaches at Appraiser Fest. First appraiser to appraise with cryptocurrency. Check out howloud.com. Reviews area looked at. Really good tool. Open up, plug in, has a road in a property, has a hot, I don't know what that says. Trafficcounts.com. Market adjustment. 8,000 cars go by tool.